Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the world champion Terran in the blue. It's Team Liquid's Clem. But he's up against his regular nemesis, the rank 1 Protoss player out there, the mysterious MaxPax's. A best of 5 Terran versus Protoss grand finals, and the first finals I've seen on the new proposed StarCraft 2 balance patch. Some new maps as well. But before we get into it, just one more thing. It'd be awesome if you could smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? One more than 1,453 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than this probe. Sent out on a scouting mission. We'll see the natural. We're on Snowpiercer. Great movie. And remains to be seen about the map. So a new map pull, new balance patch. And Terran versus Protoss is the matchup everyone's been talking about. With such great enthusiasm, myself included. There's been some major changes here on the public test realm. The major one, the most major by far, shield battery overcharge has been removed. It's been replaced with an ability that looks very similar, at least on the action bar here, called, I don't know, it doesn't show up there, but energy overcharge. I know, very original. That ability takes the 50 energy from the Nexus on a 1-minute cooldown, global cooldown, and it puts 100 energy onto any of your units. Not that that would apply here, as the Zealot is getting run around in circles by a Reaper and 2 Marines, and, well, those bouncers will keep the Adept out. MaxPax's trying to put the pressure on. So, without shield battery overcharge, that means Protoss significantly more vulnerable to a lot of early timings. But there's been a few other changes. The Colossus got some of its HP and shield shifted around. The Immortal is slightly cheaper, though attack's slightly slower. Tempest also got slimmed down, still somewhat competitive with the Void Ray and what role it's going to fill. And the Mothership got buffed to have more beams. Okay, Beamer. Adept gets taken down. No change to this stage of the game where both these nerds, with an absolutely disgusting amount of APM, will micro units better than I could hope to in my entire career, as Clem manages to dodge away. So, for Terran, the Hellion, Blue Flame Hellions get a little more damage. You can now salvage missile turrets and sensor towers. Sensor towers are cheaper, but they cover less range. The Planetary Fortress has 1 less armor. Yeah, we got it up this time. Oh, I missed a big one. The Disruptor is nerf buffed. It now does 100 damage instead of 145, which means it no longer one-shots Marauders, no longer one-shots Roaches. But it does have a larger radius. So, I would call it a nerf. A pretty significant one at that, but we shall see. The energy overcharge, you got to keep a lookout for it. It's an instant cast ability with, it just does a little bubble shield around the unit. I'm hoping the animation, if we end up going through with it, ends up being somewhat better. But, oh yeah, the Thor also has a slightly different splash damage mode, but if we end up seeing it, I will eat a shoe in this series. So, well, Widowmine drop coming in. Blink Stalker's already in position. The Sacrificial Probes gets a Stalker a little bit late on the blink, but backs off. What I do expect to see is, well, more Blink Stalkers from MaxPax's. He already leans on them to incredibly regular effect in Terran versus Protoss. You don't need shield battery overcharge if they're busy defending their base. I'm interested if we see any of the energy overcharge timings as well. Well, yes, it's another year in StarCraft 2, which means Protoss have to relearn pretty much all their builds. But, alright, that should make up for them being filthy cheese. Okay, in come the Blink Stalkers. And the decoy bunker is taken out. Ghetto Blinks back a few. Honestly, the War Prism is a more reliable Blink Stalker than the Blink Stalkers. There's no cooldown in that one. Takes out the bunker, shaves away a few of the Marines. Overall, oh, Reaper! Select all army key probably from Clem. But the Blink Stalkers still keeping the pressure on. The Widowmine drop is usually not as common of an option nowadays because of this kind of scenario. where if it gets shut down, the Stalkers can come straight across the map and shut you down like a blue screen computer that both these players are probably too young to even understand what it's referencing. I guess it still can happen. Blink Stalkers just keep coming in. 44 probes. He's adding a few more now. He's got that third base siege tank coming up. But Clem kept on the back foot, slapping down another bunker. So, a side note, you can no longer salvage buildings while they're damaged. So in that 5 seconds, if they get damaged, you can't salvage it. Which, But the fact that you can salvage sensor towers and missile turrets, I think, outweighs that a bit. And you know what? Blink Stalkers just dive right in on the tank. And MaxPax's is looking to just win the game outright. A few Marauders come out. Another bunker comes up. And make no mistake, nothing of the game has changed. This interaction. This early back and forth. There has been nothing that affects it. It's just these two are so aggressive all the time. Clem tried a more conservative Widowmine drop, and now MaxPax's is just keeping him bottled up in his base. Stimpack on the way. Almost done now. Is that an engineering bay that died? No, it was a depot. I know what an engineering bay looks like. Alright. Just caught a glimpse of it at the end. Maybe I'm blinking too much. Another drop headed out. So, MaxPax's has yet to build a single unit with energy, so energy overcharge. Unfortunately, it doesn't bank up charges. I'm hard-pressed to see it. It's a better late-game ability than shield battery overcharge, in my opinion. The ability to buff up, like a High Templar, or really mostly a High Templar, occasionally an Oracle maybe. But not having that shield battery overcharge early on, could have reverberating effects. Speaking of charge not done. Eating the hits here. Shield battery, well, no overcharge. The Zealots just menacingly stalking towards the Marines as they do. Unfortunately, the Marines, drugs, guns, strong tactics, both for my neighbors and for the Terrans. Meanwhile, Stalkers caught out on the field, but the Marine drop in the main is just uncontested. Well, lightly contested, and clearly not enough. The sentry's Guardian Shield. That shield battery's got some work to put in. The shield battery has 50 more HP and shields itself, but of course, without the overcharge, it's much less of a regular target. The Marines survived, and now the Stalkers are coming back to deal with it. The shield battery is drained. Did he actually add the... He's used energy overcharge, but I'm not sure on what. I'm going to assume the sentries. And that way he can make force fields that work directly against the charge lots. But energy overcharge is on cooldown. You can also technically use it on the shield battery to restore its energy, but it pales into... It's like 1/3 the total shields of shield battery overcharge. Could we just call it like energy surge or something? Or power spike? So my brain doesn't hurt too much. From the people who brought you Hydra Dash. Well, the Marines and Marauders continue to grind through. Emotional support field thrown out yet again to make sure the Zealots have a tougher time getting close. Colossus on the field. And, well, MaxPax's might have just barely enough units. He's down 30 supply. The siege tanks, the Vikings on the ground, which is not the ideal way to fight Colossi. He picks it up. And gets away with most of these units. Clem's up 40 supply. But MaxPax's, to his credit, is not dead. So, he's using shield battery or energy surge on cooldown. That scan with the player color on it. Though, really needs a little bit more visibility, I think. I believe he's using on those sentries. The Widowmine's coming out, but the Colossus standing tall. So the Colossus has 50 more HP and 50 less shields than it did, which is arguably a buff, but that's a mathematical argument, depending on who you ask. Benefits a little more from armor, but you can't repair any of these unless one of those SCVs is looking to do some side work. Colossus crumbles. Widowmine's hitting. And Clem just looking to drop on top. MaxPax still down 30 supply, but he's keeping the pressure at least contained. He's forcing Clem to concentrate on that side of the map. I'm looking for upsides here, because there's a lot looking down as Clem just continues rallying across. He's got Whittle Mines in place. MaxPax can't really afford to lose a Nexus, obviously, but Probe's also hurt. Another dozen will be killed. Some Zealots trying to cut off the reinforcements. But Clem is up 50 supply. The Whittle Mine helping the Zealot kill off some, but the Citizens arrest. Guardian Shield. Energy Overcharge used again. I haven't yet caught the animation. It's probably on the screen, but it's a very hard to, or very easy to miss one. I'm gonna watch very closely for the cooldown and see, MaxPax has been using it very regularly. Trying to get a couple more Guardian Shields in there, and Clem unable to close it out. So that means MaxPax has survived for now. Okay, let me see it. And the shield battery. He could energy overcharge the battery to save the day, and the Nexus! It will die anyways. No, not quite. Zealots come in towards Clem's third, which the Whittle Mine softened up earlier, but the Ghosts still line up their shots. Just auto attacks, not snipes. They're still pretty good against the Zealots. And the Colossus trundling. All were bad choices, but the last one was what I was going for. Just like MaxPax is going up the ramp, but the Terrans... There's really not that many Terran units down there. Picks up and gets out. And the rally point is absolutely terrible. The Ghosts come around the wrong corner. And he ends up losing him. Force fields again, very close to being useful. And Clem is now down 10 supply. The Blinkstalker still going forward, but MaxPax, he put himself in the right spot to give an opportunity to actually get the damage done. And so far, now he continues forward. The Vikings having trouble actually killing off the Colossi. Maybe that extra HP helping out. Oh, how did I neglect to mention the Liberator? Advanced Ballistics now has slightly less range, but much larger radius. Some of you probably saw the first games on that. Though not a single Liberator has been built by Clem, advanced or otherwise, as his entire lead has been dismantled. MaxPax held and has continued pressing forward, and Clem now doesn't really have the economy. It seems like MaxPax is just standing too tall. Clem does not have 2-2 upgrades. MaxPax has just +2 attack, but these two just keep fighting it out. Brawling in the field. And I can't help but feel like Clem did lose a... I mean, you could see the army supply gap there. That's not something that has gone well for the Terrans. Ghost out in front. Surprisingly tanky. It's technically not a light unit, so the Colossi don't do particularly well against it. Unfortunately, not that many EMPs. Some Archons coming in. And MaxPax taking every opportunity. He's still got 4 Nexi back at home. And down goes one of the Colossi. Clem still grinding through. Doesn't have maybe one more EMP to soften up that Archon. The bunker! I don't know if it's the same bunker from earlier, but one Viking remains. He could save the Colossus. He does. The SCV's out in front. Clem down to almost nothing, but the Viking falls. And with it, well, somehow this keeps happening. Stalkers blink out of the mines. 15 SCVs dead, but that Colossus has stood tall. It really can't do anything else, but 15 kills. Continues grinding through. A lot of SCVs went down. The medevacs are out of energy. He's really working the HP on that Colossus. And right now, Clem struggling to even get to a third base. He lost the momentum. He's usually such an aggressive player in this matchup. And as soon as the tables get turned, well, feels like he has to flip them. Blinks out of the way over the top. Snipes off one of the medevacs. Couple zealots sacrificed to the Widowmine gods. But MaxPax, if he's able to turn around a 30 supply deficit, a 30 supply lead, should be relative ease. Another force field, the Archon's like, really? Is he still using? He keeps using energy overcharge. I think he uses it like on sentries, because you still have to cast it within range of your Nexus. So, there's a force field. Though still of arguable utility. It doesn't end up mattering. MaxPax takes the game. Clem, unable to recover after a series of rough rally points, get a significant chunk of his army roasted. And, well, we didn't see much of that late game as MaxPax with his trademark Blinkstalker micro kept the pressure on, and then Clem did everything he could to end it before we got anywhere close to 200 supply. But MaxPax is just near impeccable on defense and really working that energy overcharge to hold things together. So Clem slipping up just a bit gives MaxPax the opportunity to jump right back into it. But I will say, and of course, we can use the outcome of one game or one series as a bellwether for balance. I apologize, I hope I'm not getting sick here. I'm sick of these great games, but also a little sick, unfortunately. What was I saying? But why doesn't Protoss get cool stuff? The energy overcharge, I don't think I caught it being cast the entire time. If they're gonna get something, at least make it flashy. And I'm not talking about the mothership. The mothership does not count. Okay? How about a unit that gets built in more than 3% of game? Okay, it's more than 3%, but damage on the mothership. If you let us build like 5 of them, well, we'll see. But even Clem has gone on the record and said the Ghost probably needs a look. Now, he said it after the first patch notes, the ones we're playing on right now, incurred a significant amount of criticism, especially from yours truly. But he did say it. So, if the world champion thinks that Ghost might need a retuning, then, well, hard to argue with that level of expertise. I think Protoss players would like to be able to not do an early timing every game and feel like there's little weird jumps on the map. Protoss is still going to be very strong at attacking early. There was nothing changed that really affects that. Maps are more relevant to early attacks than we're on Amygdala. Another one of the new maps. Looks really nice. Let's see how it plays out. Yeah, maps are more of a way to determine how aggressive players are going to be much of the time. The rush distance, the proxy locations, whether you can get a siege tank or an adept, or there's a ramp to... big one is whether there's a ramp to the natural, because having a ramp and needing high ground vision to get up to the top of it and actually see anything, it's a much more defensible. That's why Site Delta, for example, in the current map pool is such a regular later game map. It's because it's very hard to break that defensive location. Is that a gold base? Interesting. But I'd be a little surprised if MaxPax goes anywhere but Blink, because it's really not worth it to give up map control when you don't really have any defensive options more than just building some more units. Well, speaking of, the Hellions, just 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions just wandering in. Absolutely no respect from Clem here as he looks to murder even more probes. Good splits from MaxPax. Minimize the damage. Only 5 probes killed. I guess it could have been much worse. Still, an uncomfortable bit of trespassing there. And now, the much more typical clone drop follow-up. Cyclone, alongside 4 Marines in the medevac. Cyclone, surprisingly this time around, not even mentioned in the patch notes. Meanwhile, MaxPax's bringing those gates online. He's got his warp prism on the way, but the Cyclone is already here alongside the Marines. How many Stalkers? We only have 3. Warp gate is done, 2 more Stalkers on the way, and with the warp prism to help with the blink, it should be easy enough to deal with. And then the Reaper in the main, though the probes will take it out. Medevac is targeted down. Cyclone trying to help out, doing a lot of extra damage, and now just targeting probes. 9 probes dead. MaxPax's now down to 41 supply. Clem has a 7 worker advantage. He's got siege tanks already done. So, repositioning in order to create something of a bulwark, even slapping down an engineering bay. He's physically trying to zone the Blink Stalkers out of the base. And so far successful. MaxPax's just slurping up one SCV. Juggling in more Stalkers on the edge, and ooh, you can't see it. Blink said there's a second siege tank, a little late on the repair. Not that it would have mattered. MaxPax's keeping the pressure on. He's now building some more probes back at home. Maybe feeling like he's done some of the damage, and the starport itself is vulnerable. That first siege tank getting taken out opened up some opportunity. Working all the way into the mineral line, actually. The starport may just die. More SCVs pulled, but the Blink Stalkers just continue to terrorize the edge of the base. Every pixel that siege tanks don't touch is vulnerable to these Stalkers. MaxPax's just blinks down smoothly to the natural, slaps down an auto turret, but Clem doesn't have a tank here. And there's not really... The Marines are trying... He doesn't have stim. Is MaxPax's just winning the game? Not quite. I take it. Okay, I was getting a little ahead of myself. There's still a lot more to back this up. Clem still has plenty of SCVs, which, not really fighting units, but that means he can pull SCVs a couple times and buffer. But it feels like MaxPax's just keeps chipping away at him much quicker than Clem can replace. Down goes a siege tank, and now some Marines, and the bunkers are not nearly enough to deal with this. Clem desperately needs more tanks and Marauders. There are 2 tanks in the main. He's bringing his 3rd down. Really doesn't want to give up the main base, but he's about to give up his natural if he doesn't do something soon. Tank will siege up just barely in time. The Stalkers sees the tank, but enough damage to take out the bunker. Dark Shrine is on the way. Still, Clem has the economy. Where did the starport go? He hasn't built anything out of it. Still just running around trying to chase down these Stalkers. It's just 1 tank at the natural. A lot of these Stalkers are so badly bruised, but they still have some of their shields. It's like 6 Stalkers that have 1 Stalker of HP between them. But without medevacs, the Marines and Marauders are getting whittled down as well. This feels like Clem is taking a lot of damage, but then I look at the supply and he's down like 3. Which certainly doesn't underscore it nearly as much. Charge is on the way. Dark Shrine finishing up every bit of the base. It is a large, thick main here with a lot of space for fun activities, like blinking in and out of the corner and making Terran's life very difficult. Clem loads up just whatever's nearby. A few Marauders, a couple Marines. But now 3 Dark Templar warped in. And there is no... Are those GG? Oh. Oh, well. That's unfortunate. Yup. It's too late. The turrets are starting, but he dropped the mules. There's a Spylon spotting all of this. It's a disaster for Clem. Before he can even get out of it, he's trying to save tanks from Dark Templar. GG. MaxPax's up 2-0. Another decisive victory. After Clem unable to get anything going. And this time he really barely made it off the starting block. What? Those Blink Stalkers. I think some of this comes down to new maps. New maps favor aggressors. The longer, until things get figured out, especially favor aggressors. Things like blink, timing, siege tank pushes will continue to be even more effective than they usually are, until players have a little time to figure out literally the lay of the land. So, we're combining a lot of different things, but it's kind of relevant because I believe with StarCraft 2 coming to Game Pass, tell your friends. Well, if you play StarCraft 2, don't be insulting. I believe the season and the balance patch, whatever it looks like, will be rolling out with the changeover. No, not changeover, but the addition of StarCraft 2 on Game Pass. I'm just waiting for Steam, obviously. And on Game Pass, I believe it'll be free, the campaigns, and maybe some of the co-op. I'm not exactly sure, but at least some of the stuff. You know the whole Game Pass deal. So, if there are some people you know that haven't tried the campaign yet, then got an opportunity. But I digress. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of new stuff here. Both these players are kind of using their same builds that we've seen dozens of times. And it's all down to the execution. I think MaxPax is doing a great job of taking advantage of every pixel of space. And until Clem works out exactly how to set up his base to defend, MaxPax is going to keep getting that damage done with... He always gets damage done with Blink Stalkers, alright? He doesn't even need to see where he's going. He just feels it. It's like Stevie Wonder with the Blink Stalkers. As he's constantly just... He has such a good instinct. It reminds me of parting without being an insane person. A little bit. Which, that's a compliment, most. Shiba. But yeah, so far, haven't seen too much... I don't know if he used energy overcharge at all. You cannot energy overcharge your own Nexus to get more energy and then use it on Chrono. Though, why not? Okay. Just in case you were wondering if the Protoss can create more energy out of less energy. No, unfortunately. Nope. I like these little lines. We're on Whispers of Gold. Quite a poetic name. I like the little indicators as well with like Wraith icon. Do they each have different ones? Yes, that's pretty cool. Oh, Goliath. Oh, they're the same on opposite sides, like symmetric. That's pretty cool. I like it. I don't know who made the new maps. I'll have to look that up at some point. But great job out there. I mean, I always love map makers. That was part of the alleged reason for the, quote, nerf. Very, very hard asterisk there, but to the Liberator. Is that the layout and setup of maps is so determined by these literal edge cases of units. The Liberator being by far the biggest offender. So having slightly less potential range means map makers have a little more leeway, though. We'll see how it pans out. So map makers have to kind of show their personality when it comes to, you know, just the aesthetic as opposed to the layout. Clem has no units. Okay, now he's got a Reaper and 2 Marines. But MaxPax has way more. He proxied a gateway. So there's a Twilight Council, no blink. The SCVs are pulled, 8 of them dead. A Widow Mine drop. The Widow Mine kills just a single probe. The Stalkers are being chased back. MaxPax's just shows up and bashes down the door. Meanwhile, Clem tries to slip in the back. A Liberator's out. But again, the advanced ballistics upgrade is the one we're most interested in. Wow, okay, that was a bit optimistic. And here comes the Marines coming in with the medevac. Might be able to snipe off those stalkers, but there's two more. Gets another Marine. Blink begins. Cloak Banshee's on the way. But just continues microing back. I think MaxPax's by far got the better of this exchange. And Clem, again, struggling out of the gate. Against the gates. Well, the stalkers. There isn't Blink, but he eats a shot with the Adepts, which gives him a little bit more leeway with the stalkers as he just runs by. And hello? Is he just dead? There's a Reaper on the other side. And after much ado about Protoss, MaxPax's claims a clean sweep against the world champion, which is not exactly an upset, considering about 40% of the time he beats him. But certainly not quite what I expected to start things off. But to be clear, with the new maps, yes, as well as the balance changes, aggressor is definitely favored. I think Protoss are going to get even more aggressive, dreading playing the mid to late game. But we have another taste. One more taste. Anti-spoiler bonus game against Beyond. MaxPax's versus Beyond. Played in the same tournament, Colaris Steadfast Roddy Cup. Thank you to those amazing community members for putting it on. But I have it on good authority. This is a bit more comprehensive. So if you're like, well, I'm not exactly sure what to think. Well, here we're on ley lines to get an impression. So, my opinion of that series, and I'm going to be strong with my opinion of the changes. At the very least, the changes do not meet the goal that they're setting out to achieve, which is nerfing camping strategies, especially for Terran and Zerg. So, Protoss changes are across the board, kind of nerfs combined with mini buffs combined with nerfs. It's a bit back and forth. You can watch my video on it for the exact details. Like, for example, the Immortal, 275 to 200 minerals. Not 200, that'd be great. 250. 25 mineral cost reduction. But they now attack 10% slower. Like, yeah, you give me an employee discount and then you chop off my hand. Like, can we just buff it? So, what is the issue, though? Is Protoss is severely not severely, that's overselling it, but Protoss is overrepresented at everywhere but this level. Pretty much everywhere but the top 16 that you'll see on this channel most of the time, because I try casting other people and nobody watches them. And by nobody, I mean like significantly less. It's not on you. It's on the fact that it seems like only 2 or 3 Protoss players can even compete at the level of, say, a Clem or Beyond. Or Dark. Or Raynor. Except when Raynor's Protoss, which that would be an interesting battle. So, that is why, I'm not even going to get into the politics of it, but that is why I think it's hard to see Protoss getting big buffs. It's because a lot of players, especially European players on the ladder, and that is the most frequent and most populated ladder, especially with pro players, playing Protoss all day. Even the Protoss are playing Protoss all day. Like 50% of Grandmaster is Protoss. Everyone and their mother is Protoss. I mean, it's that easy, right? But at the end of the day, it's because of Warp Gate. The Warp Gate mechanic. The fact that you can warp in a cinematic, epic cinematic, of charge lots to your opponent's base at any time means you can't buff the Zealot, or it'll just be broke. Because you can blink the Stalkers in, means you can't buff the Stalker, it'll be broke. Or at least that's the immediate knee-jerk reaction. Meanwhile, the Reaper gets 2 kills and nobody bats an eye. Cyclone exchange. So, I want Protoss to get some cool buffs. Alright, I think Protoss... I want Guardian Shield to be what they did with the... So, fun fact, if you look back at my video, I think it's in the video, like a year ago, when I last got... there it is! He did it! He did the thing! Did you see it? Go back and... You know what? I know for sure he did. We're gonna see it again. The animation. He did the energy overcharge on that sentry. And used it to get a hallucination and still have some energy left over. Alright. So, at the very least, I want the animation to, not suck. Yeah, that was it. That wasn't it finishing warping in. It was a little bubble shield thing. Like, I think the Guardian Shell animation from the campaign. I don't mind reusing the campaign animation. Just, can we get a more dramatic one? I want like an orbital strike, but of energy. Just like the orbital strike animation down onto the unit. Looks dramatic and kind of scary, but very Protoss-y. Well, speaking of Protoss-y, is there enough Protoss to deal with this? So the energy, I think the energy, I'm going to start calling it energy surge. Or the, yeah, I'm going to call it that because I can't call it overcharge. Because one, it's not overcharge. It just gives it energy. Gives it a surge of energy. That's not a good place to be. I don't know why there's a siege tank out there, and clearly MaxPax's doesn't either. I'm just going to start calling it that. And Hydra Dash, Hydra Lurch. Funka, not the time. Good talk, though. How do you even accidentally hit that key? Is that like an observer hotkey? Not important. But I just want Protoss to get cool stuff. The energy charge, or energy surge, is, yeah, like that. Something like that. But like an animation. The energy surge is a cool idea. And I would like more like that for Protoss. Let's try it out. If we're going to make Protoss relearn the game every year, then... well, let's get a bit more dramatic with it. Why not? Well, the Tactiboys are here. One Liberator on the edge. And, oh no. Well, we found a sweet spot there. The tanks with the Tactiboys. Good force fields. Sentry dies immediately. One of its major issues. I was mentioning the Guardian Shield, which I actually suggested that Guardian Shield be an aura ability, where units receive Guardian Shield and they can go out of the shield for a few seconds. So that was changed to be for Microbial Shroud. Which is an interesting change. I think it makes a lot more sense for Guardian Shield. It could be both. Why not? Especially the idea of, like, overcharging shields for the Protoss. I know. Crazy concept. Well, the tanks are backing off force field. And another one locks in the tank. Stalker's harrying the retreat. And Beyond just kind of backs off. Doesn't like the look of it. Tried to get the Liberator back in. Blink Stalkers. Oh, he's trying to have all the tanks. He ends up getting one. He was trying to get both. But ends up losing most of his Stalkers. And the SCVs are still around to repair. Not an ideal engagement. MaxPax's a very different vibe out of Beyond than his prodigal son, Clem. Clem just sends everything. Beyond here, picking his timings and making sure, like, he aims for the knockout punch, whereas Clem is much more of a flurry of attacks. Beyond just constantly swinging haymakers, though, is how he usually likes to play. Or, I don't even know if he likes to play, it's just he's been playing like it for so long, it's way too late to change at this point. If you can empathize, make sure to smash that like button. You know, it's kind of crazy, though. StarCraft 2, you can go on the ladder with the other 6 people, see the same guy I played 5 years ago. Like, wait a second, is this the guy that cannon rushed me? I look down my ramp and there's 2 pylons there. It's like, Then again, cannon rushing is like one of those strategies that people turn into a personality trait, so there is that. It's kind of like Zerg players and Creep Spread, or Terran players and Neurodivergence. Like, Templar Archives, Armory on the way, but we all know where this is going to go. Just going to be beyond picking up into the Medivacs, as well as MaxPax's desperately try to defend. Beyond, does he even have a Ghost Academy on the way? No. No. This is the time to go Ghost. 3 Colossi. I don't know if he's seen the Robo-Bay. There's the Ghost Academy. Ghosts and Vikings. We're gonna get the full package, assuming MaxPax doesn't do the sort of critical damage that he did against Clem. Clem making a big misstep in that first game against him. With his rally points. Going directly into the Colossi. Beyond spotting for observers. Moving out. Another one coming in. Beyond spots it immediately. Guns it down, but that means the army is slightly out of position to engage at the third. The Marauder's caught between a rock and a hard place. The siege tanks taking out some of the zealots, able to complete the wall just in time. And Beyond will hold for now. And a disruptor is on the way, as we'll finally get to see whether they're worth anything, or if they've finally been nerfed out of the game. Meanwhile, Marauders dropped in to hold the door against the zealots, who only have +1. The Marauders really more than enough to deal with these zealots. The SCVs, I think some hold position micro, the Medivacs helping out. War Prism taken down by the Vikings. So MaxPax unable to find a decisive engagement, but he's taken the rich Vespine base down the center. We got 3 ghosts on the way, and the Disruptor's on the field. The Disruptor does exactly 100 damage, plus 100 against shields. So this has the interesting quirk of not killing Marauders, but it does one-shot zealots. It also kills ghosts in a single hit, so we'll see. Takes a hit. Clem. Marine's still very dead. Vikings over the top. Take down most of the Colossi. One stumbles away, but Beyond confidently reaching out and taking another base. Storm is in production. Ship weapons level 1. That sensor tower definitely needs some work on the visual of the sensor tower on the minimap, but we'll give him some early warning. And that is a rich Vespine base down the center as well. So a lot of that easy to access, but relatively small amounts of gas. It only has as much as 1 gas geyser. It's just you mine it twice as fast. Alright. MaxPax nearly maxed out, and it's time for him to pack his bags and maybe send it across the map. Whereas Beyond, he has the composition we've been looking for, the Ghosts and the Vikings. Your typical Terran at this stage of the game. And now getting another starport. No fusion core for the advanced ballistics yet, though that may very well be on the horizon. Beyond quite stubborn with those late game upgrades sometimes. Spots the whole army. There's some Templar at the back. Templar and Ghost both unchanged. The interaction remains very similar. But the siege tanks, all the splash damage left behind. I'm gonna try to take down the tanks, but the tanks will take the Stalkers first. And looking for an opportunity. Some charge lots from the north side. Gonna try a run by, but the positioning is good enough. Beyond can easily bounce between these bases. 4 Vikings in production. MaxPax has so much economy, but Beyond isn't much of a slouch here. He's got 82 SCVs against MaxPax's 87 probes. MaxPax with a slight income advantage, but we're both maxed out. There's ship weapons level 2 on the way. Guards lot drop. Vikings, Marines, and Marauders will deal with it. MaxPax's moving in. Sensor tower is in position. Meanwhile, Vikings. Those Templar are most important. EMP washes across. Vikings, historical, and StarCraft countered with the storm. Now the Stalkers. Well, this side, mostly scouting Stalkers here. As Beyond has been so diligent about knocking out those observers. Meanwhile, Charizlot zoned out. Colossus. We're taking the wrong path, but the Vikings heat a huge storm. Colossus trying to move up. Vikings take down another one. Target fires the hurt Colossus down to 1. MaxPax loses 40 supply. A pretty tough engagement there. He has a dozen gates back at home now. 2 robos, building 2 immortals at a time. But the army just not really... He hasn't made much of a dent. EMP comes through. The ghosts weather the storm. Another one wards away. Another attempt at a warp prism. Gravitic drive is done, but puts together the turrets, gets outflanked. Yeah, good luck with that. If he needs, he can salvage those turrets, minus the 25 mineral restocking fee. Scans the army. And EMPs. There's still a disruptor. Well, he's getting chased down. MaxPax's just kind of crumbling under the weight of the Terran. The disruptor dies. Where's the storms? Well, there they are. There's one. MaxPax's down. He just kind of crumbles. Not even close to being able to deal with that army. The disruptor wasn't even thrown out. Colossi being attempted, but the Vikings already great enough in number and now still getting upgraded. The Marauders, a force field, optimistic. Feel like the energy surge is bait to use more force fields so the Terrans can use them as walls. SCVs take out a Zealot. A few of them go down. So beyond unable to break through, or at least unwilling to try, to run into the reinforcements. Energy surge on one of those Templar gives it enough energy to effectively warp in a storm on a 1-minute cooldown. Oh my, the Viking fleet. Just not even caring about the storms. The medevacs picking up a few units at the front. I think that was accidental. No surge for a bit. The Vikings, badly bruised, but could be dropped down at any time and kind of discouraging the creation of more Colossi. Another storm, but beyond. The medevac umbrellas are a bit piecemeal, but holding it together. There's the fusion core on the way. The Vikings hit the deck. More EMPs, trying immortals now. Unfortunately, Vikings on the ground get a damage bonus against them. Archons, that's a lot of immortals. A little bit cheaper, but EMPs strip away the shields. And that fusion core on the way. Though I don't know if Liberators are even necessary at this point. MaxPax's scrambling for ideas. Snipes on the Zealots. Actually leaves him with very little energy to deal with the Templar. He just surged one. But MaxPax is... he's testing everything. He's got Colossi, he's got Storm, he's got Archons, he's got Disruptors. But so far, nothing is really turning the tide. Disruptor trying to get in range. The siege tank's coming up. Immortals, he needs those stalkers. Disruptor shot. Goes a bit wide. Another beautiful storm. And more of them, but the tanks are on the high ground killing probes. MaxPax just struggling to hold it down. Beyond has had so much momentum. I'm not... There's the advanced ballistics, but The Liberator's still so strong against it. The Disruptor's strongly discouraging. Does enough to kill one Marauder. MaxPax keeps trying to make Storm work, but between the Metavacs and EMP, they're landing, but just not enough. The war of attrition is being won by the Terrans. And Beyond dips a bit in supply. Oh, Disruptors from the flank! Yeah. Well, Beyond grinds him down. He's able to finish him off. It feels like MaxPax did. He kind of tried to throw everything out there, like a whole buffet table of splash damage. All of it coming up short. And that is my major concern is you nerf the Disruptor and you make Diamond League Terrans happy. You make Grandmaster League Terrans happy. But there was no nerf to the strength of the basic Terran army. And the basic Terran army plus Liberators is already incredibly oppressive in the late game. So with maybe slight buffs to the Tempest, which we got, very slight, it is a little bit more microable, doesn't attack faster or do more damage. In fact, has a little bit less range. That's the kind of game that I'm not sure what MaxPax needed to do better, but clearly there were opportunities there. Crushes Clem. Just doesn't let him survive. Clem kind of stepping over his own feet a bit too. But Beyond just holds on and grinds him down. And it wasn't like he was just turtling. He got aggressive, but he got enough done. So, I still think not enough to read into, but my concerns feeling a bit more validated. And more research is required, so if you agree, it'd be awesome if you could smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't made it there yet, and Patreon, YouTube membership, all that fun stuff. But thank you for watching. You can check out my video on the patch, and after a few more series, I'll probably make another one on general feelings. Like the energy overcharge ability, I think in a vacuum makes a lot of sense. Though having another Nexus ability, but replacing Shield Battery Overcharge on the other hand makes a lot less sense, in my opinion. There's a balance to be struck, and I think we're still missing the mark a bit. Let me know your opinions. Thank you for watching. I apologize. My voice, I'm going to try to stop talking now, because I'm definitely getting sick of this bulge. But thank you all for watching. Good luck, have fun. Have an amazing day. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.